Hey guys, so today it's time to talk a little politics. I said I was going to do a politics video like a week or two ago. I've been thinking about it. I've actually tried to start filming this once or twice. A week ago I asked for questions on Twitter about what I could discuss in a political video. I got a few good ones. But so far I haven't been able to get anything very focused that I thought would actually be worthy of publication and of a conversation. And I think I realized that actually there's politics obviously is a very broad topic. I was going to try to answer a whole bunch of questions at once, but I think I'm going to maybe do a series of videos on political topics in general and just try to focus on one issue at a time. And actually the issue I want to start with I don't think was a Twitter question, but I just read a comment on the video I did with my mom talking about James Allison, and it got me a little fired up, and I was trying to reply to it in the comments, and I figured let's just do a little video response. And that comment was about healthcare. Someone had asked in the comments on that video what my views were on a couple of issues, and I just gave quick answers. One of the questions was how I feel about public health care, and I replied that I think it's a very bad idea. Not because I don't care about other people. I do care about other people. I consider myself a compassionate individual. But I think that public health care is ineffective and unethical. I think it creates perverse incentives that undermine what would otherwise be the efficient feedback loops of the free marketplace. And I think it's unethical because I think all forms of compulsory wealth redistribution are unethical. And someone replied to that comment saying, if you're not in favor of public health care, you don't care about other people. And I take issue with that. I don't think that's correct. I think that is a very myopic point of view. I don't want to, just want to talk about what I think is more accurate. I care about other people, not to the point where obviously I've divested myself of all of my wealth and given it all to charity and I live a subsistence living, like maybe Jesus or Gandhi would do. I'm not that compassionate. I'm not sitting here trying to claim any kind of moral superiority. I'm just trying to explain my honest feelings. In my view, to get to that level of giving everything, you have to basically overcome your fear of death. And I'm happy to confess I have not done that. I just haven't, so I'm still going to hoard some things. But I don't think that that is completely incompatible with being a compassionate individual. However, it does mean that there are ways that you could help other people that you're not doing, right? By definition, it means that. So that's something you have to learn how to deal with. We all have our own ways of dealing with that, maybe just not thinking about it in the first place, coming up with rationalizations about why it's not your responsibility, and I think you could say it isn't. But that's just sort of a fact of life in this, here in the land of scarcity that we live in, right? In this particular universe, at this particular moment, it's a fact of life. So the unethical and ineffective are the two the two ways the two reasons that I think public health care is a bad idea. I'm going to start with the ethics of it. So like I was saying there, what I would call a moral question of what's your responsibility to help other people is a hard one. And I think most of us fail the test of, are you as compassionate as Jesus, right? I don't think it's correct for the government to uphold a standard like that and enforce it with violence on everybody else. I just think that's extremely perverse. I don't think that coerced compassion is a thing. That's a contradiction in terms. If you have compassion and you care about other people, of course you have the right you have the ability to help them. You can make that choice. To give your money to a charity, to give it to a hospital, to donate a kidney or whatever it is, right? But if you use violence or the threat of violence to force other people to meet that need, that's not compassionate anymore, it's violent. So I would say that I do care about other people in the sense that I think the government should protect everyone from violence. And that means protecting everyone's property rights, everyone's individual rights of self-ownership, and their right to the property that they homestead out of nature or acquire through voluntary transactions. That's the only set of laws that can apply equally to everyone. And so that means that you don't have a right to life. You have a right to not be killed. It's possible for all of us at the same time to enjoy the right to not be killed. It's symmetrical in that sense. Anyone who initiates violence against someone else is breaking the law, right? But to say you have a right to life in the sense that you have a right to whatever amount of healthcare is required to keep you alive, that is not something that we can all enjoy at the same time. It's possible for a very small number of people to consume almost all of the resources of the nation, just sustaining their lives maybe for even 5 or 10 years. I'm no expert on illness and the evolution of medicine, but I know that they're coming up with new treatments all the time, that they're able to cure more diseases or at least manage the symptoms and extend people's lives. And I know that it costs a lot of money to do that research, and I know that when these techniques are new, it costs a lot of money to apply them. And so you can't say no one should die because they don't have access to healthcare. Healthcare is not a homogeneous good. You have to deal with how much healthcare is appropriate for what kind of situation. And that's a very challenging problem. And in my view, every time we centralize a challenging problem like that into a federal bureaucracy, we get worse outcomes. We get less efficiency because it eliminates competition, and it eliminates the incentive that the consumers of healthcare have to be judicious about what they need and what they don't, to shop around for the best price, or to maybe realize that you don't always need to go to the emergency room every time you're sick. When you have completely socialized healthcare, it takes away all of those natural incentives. So it gets me riled up just because I feel like that attitude is a cop-out. Saying that if you're not in favor of public health care, you don't care about people, is a cop-out from dealing with the fact that, from dealing with that thing I was saying initially, that we all have to deal with the fact that if we keep any resources for ourselves, that we're not saving as many lives as we could. I have more money than some people, but there are plenty of people that have so much more money than me that I could never save a fraction of the lives that they could save. But all that is just rationalization, right? It's complete rationalization. But it's something that you have to deal with. And if you decide that you don't have to deal with it because you're going to vote for someone who's in favor of public health care, I think that is, I think it's a cop-out. It's like, I'm walking down the street and I see a homeless person who's asking for money, and it makes my heart twang, right? I go, oh, I feel for this person, right? So obviously I have the choice to give them some money. But if I just punch someone in the face that I see walking down the street next to me, steal their wallet and give it to the homeless person, and then I go on with my day feeling really good about myself for my good deed, I think that there's some blindness there to the reality of how the reality of what's going on. So I'm against any form of compulsory wealth redistribution because I think it's unethical. It's a veiled violence, is what my mom would call it, although she doesn't always agree with how I analyze certain instances of compulsory wealth redistribution. I guess one way to sort of summarize what I'm trying to talk about here is what I would call the difference between ethics and morality. Those terms get used a lot of different ways. This is just the way I like to use them. But I think about ethics as the set of rules or laws or social norms that treat every individual equally, where we all have the same rights. Kant's categorical imperative defines an ethical rule that way. He says that for a law to rise to the level of being an ethical imperative, it has to treat each person, each member of the species, equally. And so, after Kant, guys like John Locke and Thomas Jefferson tried to enumerate the idea of a natural law based on self-ownership and first appropriation and voluntary transactions that does treat everyone equally, where we all have the same rights. And I view that it's the role of the federal government in a free society to protect those individual rights. So that means no violence, no fraud, no theft. Morality, in my opinion, is a different question. Morality has to do with individual values. It's more about your opinions. So whether you're for or against, how you feel about homosexuality is a moral decision. How you feel about, taking care of homeless people or treating sick people who don't have the resources to pay for health care, that's a moral decision. I think that there are a lot of ways for free people in a free society to express their moral feelings through supporting charities, through their churches, through doing good works, through trying to persuade other people to adopt your morality, using words, right? But not using the threat of violence from the government to force people to have the same morals that you do. That's unethical, in my opinion. And so that's a hot button for me when people confuse their subjective morality with something that's actually an objective ethical imperative. Not killing each other is an objective ethical imperative. It's possible for everyone to enjoy the right to not be killed at the same time. But things about wealth redistribution are always moral issues. And I just think it's a bad idea on so many levels for the government to get involved in that. Obviously, our government has done. I think, it's unfortunate, it's complicated why and what could happen from here. I suppose that we'll leave that to a separate video. But, hopefully that made a little sense. I realize many people don't agree with me. I'm happy to hear why you don't. I love those conversations. Hopefully some people actually do see some of the logic in what I'm trying to say as well. But in any case, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. And looking forward to discussing some more political topics in the future. Take care, guys.